Would you agree, yes or no, that U.S. traffic guns are critical to the cartels in maintaining their power? We'll start with Mr. Richmond.
I think, given the fact this is a human trafficking hearing, it's important to note that Congress wisely and innovatively in 2000 passed the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which focuses on nonviolent coercion.
Just back to my question. So yes or no, would you say that guns that are trafficked are critical to cartels maintaining their power? Yes or no?
I think that most traffickers in the world use nonviolent coercion to exploit their victims.
So you can't answer the question? So you don't think that traffic guns are critical to cartels maintaining their power?
I think this hearing is about human trafficking.
Yes or no, sir? You want to answer the question? Okay, Mr. Villeda, do you think, it's not a hard question, do you think that traffic guns are part of cartels maintaining their power, yes or no?
Part of the problem, sir, but not the only one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I couldn't say one way or the other.
You couldn't say if guns and gun sales have anything to do with cartels maintaining their power?
Trafficked guns.
Traffic guns.
That's a subset of gun sales, and I couldn't say.
Mr. Sadolski?
Yes, guns are a problem.
Thank you very much. I don't think that was a very hard question. It's unfortunate that it can't be answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also want to continue some of this conversation around what's really giving the cartels power at the southern border as well. Now, we know that cartels and RTCOs are destructive. We know what they're doing around human trafficking. What's happening along not just the border, but human trafficking in general is horrific. We can all and we should all condemn just the horror that's happening to so many families, and particularly so many young women. But it's also important that we also focus on ways these cartels maintain their power. And one of the ways that they maintain their power is, like was just said, is weapons and arms smuggling. So I think that's also very important to talk about. Now, each year, according to CBS News reporting, between 500,000 and 1 million weapons enter Mexico illegally from the United States, from us. We know that many of these weapons are military-grade weapons of war, including belt-fed miniguns, grenade launchers, and a variety of other types of weapons. And the overwhelming majority, of course, end up in the hands of drug cartels. So it's about 1 million weapons a year that actually get smuggled into Mexico from the United States. And we have allowed the cartels to essentially amass arsenals. These are the weapons they often use to traffic human beings, to kill innocent Mexicans and U.S. civilians, and of course that they use to attack law enforcement on both sides of the border. Now, Mexico has been doing their part to solve the avalanche of guns. Like was just mentioned, there is one gun store in all of Mexico, and actually that one gun store only issues 50 permits a year. So we know the guns are not coming from Mexico, they're coming from us. And it shouldn't surprise anyone that according to a variety of reports, anywhere between 70 to 90% of all the guns that are recovered in crime scenes in Mexico are actually traced back to U.S. gun sales. So if we're going to fight an effective fight against the cartels, we need to make sure that they cannot get their hands on U.S. firearms. Now, without even including ammunition and gear, the retail value of U.S. weapon sales, which go to the cartels, is around $500 million a year. So given that, it's unsurprising that according to the Council on Foreign Relations, over 50% of all U.S. firearm dealers and up to 80% of border state federal firearms license dealers are actually dependent on Mexican cartel demand for their economic existence. So if you think about it, 1/2 of all U.S. gun dealers would essentially go out of business if not for gun sales that end up in the hands of the cartels. So this is actually a huge public policy and public health crisis. Both sides of the border need to be involved. And if we actually want to take on human trafficking, the illegal guns that are coming from the United States play a huge role in funding these cartels. They're, of course, trafficking all of these families from Central and South America and Mexico. Now, we know that there has been strong support from the Biden administration. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act took an important step in combating firearms straw purchasing and trafficking. That was obviously the first reform we've seen in decades, but we need to do a lot more. I also recently introduced legislation that takes on ammo. It's called the Ammo Act, to reform the way we license, sell, regulate, and oversee large ammunition sales in this country. But we also need to crack down on direct access to these guns by the cartels. Finally, just another question for everybody. To effectively fight against cartels, do we need a whole-of-government approach, which also should include addressing the smuggling of guns? Addressing the smuggling of guns, should that also be addressed to fight cartels? Mr. Richmond, yes or no?
We should enforce all our laws regarding guns as well as human trafficking.
Mr. Villeda?
The U.S. administration should cooperate with local governments.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Sure, yes.
And Mr. Sadolski?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back. And again, we want to say that we got to really focus on also guns and ammo sales if we want to take on the human trafficking issue. Thank you.